So ease. And then there's this perception of time kind of slowing down, where it's just like, my equation, or how I really tap into this, is when in my dance, ecstatic dance, and I've really allowed that to be one of my main practices to learn how to flow. But I might be moving like really fast, but because I'm so expanded, I'm taking in so many data points effortlessly, I'm so acutely aware of each individual movement of my fingers and hands, and even though I'm moving like this, it looks like this. So it's this idea of, it's just like, this time, it becomes kind of wonky and warpy. Pretty cool. And then another really cool aspect is, literally, you can think of it like the Matrix. You know how they plug you into the machine and they just download information, then you just know what you're doing? It's literally that, minus the technology of equipment. So what that means, and how I can verbalize the experience of this, is it's like I have full access to my entire lifespan of knowledge and experience at my fingertips, and my mind is moving at the speed of light, bouncing between and picking out the essences of what's needed to bring understanding to what I have my attention on. And it all does it perceivably on its own. This is kind of where other examples of this, channels. You know, you see it a lot in the spiritual circles. Was it Esther? I forget, Esther something. She talks a lot about the law of attraction. She claims to be a channel. Parts of the Bible were written as a channel. You know, Course in Miracles. A person had no belief in this stuff, just all of a sudden started channeling this potent truth. So what I equate that is to, we open up to our higher selves. It's just a surrender state. I'm not efforting anything. It's an effortless state where it's just like I'm just open to receive cosmic wisdom and knowledge. And really what it equates down to is I can place my attention on anything, be it a thought, an idea, a person, apply the appropriate amount of time. So not even necessarily a lot of time, just it could be a lot of time, but not necessarily the appropriate amount of time, not a millisecond more. And then I allow my mind to gather all the information it needs, distill it down on its own to the truth. And then it's like that aha moment where it's just like, I just know. And the sense of knowing is as strong as our sense of knowing that gravity keeps us glued to the earth. That strong of a knowing. And it comes effortlessly. And so it's just like, this is the state I'm operating in now, so I'm able to pull all this information from a very high, expanded perspective, using the tools, these tool sets, springboarding off of the tokens of knowledge already contained in these lessons, and then interpreting them as I see them, giving insight as I see or perceive from the person, but really what it's doing is pointing and affirming to what the individual that might be receiving an oracle reading already knows. So now I think that's a nice segue into what is an oracle reading, or what is an oracle. So just to bring out two words that have you probably or may not have heard, but most likely have heard of, is oracle reading, or what might be more commonly known is fortune telling. And there is a distinct difference between the two. They are two separate tool sets, or two separate avenues. So a fortune telling is, again, perhaps it's like this channeling of just this intuitive knowing, this projection into the future, and they can project like into the future what's going to happen. That's fortune telling. That's not what oracle reading is. What oracle reading is, I like to think about it, instead of projecting way off into the future, what it does is it draws an expanded awareness above where you are, because right now you're in the weeds of your life, so you can't see clearly, right? So what it does is it offers your higher perspective, your higher self's perspective, on this kind of like dome-shaped cluster of time around you. So it can give insight to what's happening in your life now. So it can point out to patterns that you might be in. Because our life is a spiral always moving up, And the path of that spiral is a sine wave. So we go from highs to lows, highs to lows, highs to lows, but we always circle back on the same lesson and pattern again and again and again. So mine was social anxiety, again and again and again, until that huge bonfire slowly dwindled, 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 until that pattern just kind of faded away on its own. So that's just the course of our natural evolution. So what the oracle reading does is it gives us insight onto situations in our life, and really, almost guaranteed that you already know this. It really is something that you're probably most likely already aware of. Sometimes it might not be. Sometimes somebody's like, whoa, I was actually really blind to that. Wow, very cool. And it's part of the spiritual practice of clearing out fears, to first be able to turn full face to that fear, instead of kind of like looking away, turning like full face, seeing the pattern clearly, naming it for what it is, and then moving through the progression of compassion. First, can I hold it and just hold my gaze on it? Maybe in horror and terror at first, but can I just keep my gaze on it? Okay, I can do that. Whew. Okay, now I'm holding it, and okay, maybe I just need a break from it. So, again, it's a sine wave. So sometimes we see a pattern, we hold our gaze on that pattern for the appropriate amount of time, and then it's perfectly necessary at times to divert your attention and think about something else, and it becomes overwhelming and might be actually creating more trauma by trying to fight it out. So then from being able to hold awareness, that can again move into tolerance. Can I just tolerate hanging out with this yucky pattern, this social anxiety that just creates all this feeling in me that stops me dead in my tracks, that makes me super foggy and cloudy and I can't think of anything. It feels like I'm a zombie. Pushes me into dissociation. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good, right? So it's just like, how do I form a relationship with that, right? And it's possible, and it's doable. We all do it all the time, and once you start to bring awareness to the actual process, it speeds up and you get better at it. We get better at what we practice. So tolerance, can I just hang out with social anxiety for a minute? Okay, what happens if I breathe with it? Oh, when I breathe with it, the world doesn't spontaneously combust. I don't burst into flames. Nobody jumps out of the room and screams, "You suck," at me really loud. It's like none of that stuff is happening. Okay, so I just convinced myself that it's not necessary to be that afraid of social anxiety. Oh, that felt good. Okay, I'll come back to you for a little bit, or basically what I have to do is just live my life, and you're going to pop your head up anyway. So I don't actually have to go looking for you. All I have to do is just show up and be willing to just be in relationship with you, really. So then tolerance can start to move to friendliness. Okay, we keep our enemies closer than our friends, right? We know this. So here, social anxiety, please have a sit at the table beside me. Join in the meal with me. It's like I still don't really trust you, but I see that you're not going to stab me in the back. You're not going to like annihilate me, So okay, so you're there. So okay, let's hang out. And then, start chatting. And, how you've had relationships, perhaps, I know I have, where somebody that you might initially thought that you were really triggered by, but then if you just allow them space and start to talk to them, you might actually find, wow, I actually have a lot in common with you. Oh, you're not too bad, social anxiety, You help me create a cocoon for myself so I can be humble and really learn through observation before stepping into my power and then being immediately pushed into spiritual egotism. Thank you, social anxiety. You're just protecting me. Wow. Oh, now I love you, social anxiety. Oh, God, it just feels so good to get that out. And that's how it works. And these tools, these oracle readings, they stem and they draw knowledge from ancient wisdom traditions. And let me tell you something. Yoga, the practices of yoga, Buddhism, they were the first science. Their whole purpose was to create a hypothesis of what's actually happening, right? To speculate. And then radically go out to experiment. And this is the key factor, because it's not just sitting back idly, wishful thinking, philosophizing. They went out and experimented with their own life. And then went back to their hypothesis, cleaned up what needed to be cleaned up, dropped that hypothesis if necessary, or put a check check mark next to it allowed it to be the next stepping stone to step off of to continue to expand. So these practices draw from that scientific spirituality, and it gives us insight into what's happening into our daily lives now. And again, a lot of the times, what they really are affirmations. And I really want to point out the potency of affirmations, because in this time, especially of all spiritual warriors in the spiritual path, affirmations are the spiritual warriors' one of their greatest, most potent tools. I am. I have no doubt. I am love. I only need love. Fear is not necessary. I know that I am love. I know that I am love. I know my essence is love. So we can affirm ourselves, we can affirm others, we can help share this affirmation, and we can also draw from potent, tried and true spiritual science to affirm what we already know. Because again, it comes back to radically trusting the thoughts and the words that have been bubbling up inside of you your whole life, your gut feeling. Now is the time to start radically following those things. Say the words that you hadn't dared to say your entire life. Do the things that actually bring you joy. Radically step away from the things that aren't. And it really, from the high perspective, it's very simple. It's a very simple concept. When you're in the weeds and you're with the actual energy of the emotion, and there's still fear, then it's effort and it's discomfort. But the effort and discomfort, effort and discomfort comes from the releasing of fear. It's a fear pattern, because love's pattern is nothing but ease and euphoric bliss. That's just the way they both roll. It's just a fact. It's just as I see it, a fact. And the fact as I see it is fear is a human, and maybe this time it might be appropriate to say man-made creation of control to enslave us. My view of millions of others, countless information on the web, in books. Again, don't take my word for it. Listen to what Buddha said. Don't take my word for it. Go and prove it to yourself. Convince yourself, because it is in the convincing of ourselves that we evolve and grow. And these tools can help bring insight to that. I can offer practices that I have learned from all of my extensive spiritual practice and teachings and learnings from many masterful teachers. I can draw from all of that, and I am, to help give concrete, actualized practices we can do. So I don't want to just fill you up with a bunch of fluff and set you off to spin cycle off on your own. I actually want to help us all actualize love proper, to ascend out of the creation of any new fear. That is my divine purpose. I know that now. And I'm doing joyfully just that. And that is what I offer. And that is why I offer it. Nothing but love. Thank you.